Season of Discovery has been out for just over a month, and for the most part this has been a dream version of the game for many people. But how is it objectively? With 1 month and most of a singular phase to look back on, has this been a good variation of World of Warcraft and Classic? To start off, while it hasn't been perfect with exploits, bugs and a few other minor hiccups like PvP not being very PvP because the player base optimizes the fun out of gameplay, but overall it has been a fun experience. And while it's not a full-blown Classic Plus with every change in the book, it has enough changes and enough plans at least for the next 12 months thanks to the roadmap and teasing that it's the Classic Plus we've got for now. So let's take a look at all the facets of the game and take a step-by-step look at the past month of Season of Discovery. Starting with PvE, which is a core tenet of Classic and World of Warcraft, it has been a great opening with our first introductory level up raid, Black Fathom Deeps. It's not a perfect raid, but it's a really good raid for what it's meant to be, an introduction to 10-man raiding and a revitalization of a low-level dungeon most people did once and then forgot existed. The changes to the bosses, the added difficulty, the new mechanics also have to make it an interesting foray into raiding. It's not necessarily difficult, but it is an interesting glimpse into the varying skill levels of Classic's player base, because never would one think that people would optimize a 10-man level 25 raid so effectively, yet here we are. But on the opposite spectrum, I never knew how many people were playing the game with their toes and a blindfold on. Most people though fall in the middle, completing the raid in around 45 minutes and having an overall good time. It's, in my opinion, the sweet spot when it comes to difficulty. Enough that you have to pay attention, but not enough to take away from what makes Classic classic, and that is easy content, because that's what made Classic so accessible back in 2019. Anyone could do the content, and while some people could do the 40-man raids in 1 hour, some people could do it in 6 hours, but everybody could do it. Nonetheless, the loot changes with the epic weapons, new trinket, items, all in all is a wonderful change and makes gearing up fun and trying to get your best an enjoyable experience. And to everyone who uses gear score, why, my brother? It's the worst system of measurement, especially this early and at level 25. Going into phase 2, we will have the Numeragon level up raid, and that should be in a few weeks, but that's for a future video. With the raid being a good experience, the open world content itself hasn't quite changed very much. It's still level 1 to 25, people are still leveling the same way they did before. Some people are questing, some people are dungeon spamming, but it's for the most part the exact same game as it was before, except for two little things. The first one is that people are hitting level 25 and then doing every quest for gold because the game is treating quests like it would at max level, a conversion of experience into gold. And some people are going ham in the situation and farming all the quests for gold. This is a large gold farm and honestly in my opinion probably one of the most easy and fun gold farms for the average person. Most people struggle to farm gold, so being able to get a solid 50 to 75 gold just by questing is a huge buff for a lot of players. I think it's a fun but unintended side effect of the level 25 level cap. It's not the biggest deal, but it could serve to inconvenience people come phase 2 since I'll have no quest left to level with, but I'm sure the Classic devs have a plan of sorts in mind. The second thing is runes, which alter a lot of classes and how they play. Mages being able to heal whilst continuing to DPS, shamans being the de facto best tank for phase 1, warlocks being able to tank and being pretty decent at that, and far more than I can list without making this video solely dedicated to the changes that runes have brought to Season of Discovery. But runes didn't just change how classes operate with new specs, it gave many spells that complemented their ability to play the game and made certain classes feel fresh and intuitive to play. For example, Balanced Druid being able to spam Wrath because it costs no mana. Then there was the discovery in the world, when runes were fresh and nobody knew where to find them or how to find them. As a Tauren Druid, those first few hours, the struggle, the curiosity, the discovery and the feelings of adventure were inspiring and incredible. Sure, within 2 days most runes had been discovered, but it still took almost a full week to discover every rune, which personally to me isn't long enough. I'd rather runes take weeks upon weeks to discover, but I know that the purpose of runes is to be used. Still, I think they could be harder to find and thus more fun or rewarding. The rune system wasn't quite perfect either, as some runes are quite useless and some classes have better or more interactive runes than others. But this is only phase 1 and each class only has 12 runes as of now, and I can easily see this reaching 40 or 50 runes by the end of phase 4. So I'm not personally too worried about this, as I'm sure all classes will get powerful and unique runes by the end of phase 4. And now we move into PvP, which has been limping along. The idea and design behind the Ashenvale PvP event zone is honestly a really good one, but as it has been quoted many times by many players, Classic players will optimize the fun out of the game, and this is still true even now. The Ashenvale PvP event zone is meant to be played like Alterac Valley, where you kill the generals, contest and protect your own, and defeat the other side's players. Yet what happens is quite the opposite. Both sides blitzkrieg the bosses, and whoever kills all 3 generals first essentially wins. You spend about 15 to 45 minutes setting up the event, or in now's case, 2 to 3 hours, as the bar has to reach 100% for the event to trigger. The bar climbs as people do PvP, quests, and just content content in Ashen Vale, so over time the bar takes longer and longer to fill as less and less people are doing content or interacting with each other. Once the event triggers though, the bosses spawn and the event is over in 5 minutes, if even that, as both sides completely ignore the other side and just kill the bosses. This has led to most people feeling as if the event is a PvE event disguised as a PvP one. Whilst you may on occasion get a brutal, rough and fun PvP event played as it was designed, this is not the common experience for the average player. For the most part, even dying in the wrong location was a terrible experience, as for example, as a Horde player, if you died on the west, the spirit healer was in Darkshore. They did add 2 new spirit healers which made the experience a lot more palatable and a smoother experience overall. And as I said, the core idea and principle of the event is good, but in execution it has not been the best event. Despite how many hot fixes, patches and bug fixes that have been applied to it, at the end of the day, the Ashen Vale PvP event is mediocre. Though I am sure that the devs will take what they've learned and make the PvP event zone for Phase 2, which is looking to be Stranglethorn Vale, a much better and well-designed experience. When it comes to patches and hotfixes, I will say that without a doubt that the dev team for Classic Season of Discovery is the best that Blizzard's communication has been in years. I don't know if Agron is allowed to be so interactive because Blizzard doesn't care about Season of Discovery or if they've turned over a new leaf, but Agron and the Season of Discovery dev team has been on top of things. I know that people will scream and yell and complain, but for the most part I think people are mostly enjoying this new experience. If you don't follow his ex, formerly known as Twitter, you should, as it's a good way to stay up to date on what's happening with Season of Discovery. But as I've said, the number of patches, updates, hotfixes, weekly changes, buffs and nerfs that Season of Discovery has gotten has been staggering, considering it's been out for just over a month. Hunter has been nerfed over 4 times, and despite still being the top DPS by average, they have been very vocal about their unhappiness with the amount of nerfs they've received. Not counting just nerfs, the Warlock tank rune was locked inside BFD originally, and upon realizing that the player base was struggling to get the tank rune in a smooth and well-paced experience, they gave a secondary way to attain the tanking rune, allowing people to not have to clear Black Leather Deeps before they got to tank it. Yet these are just some examples of the communication and dedication that the Season of Discovery dev team has, and I can say with confidence that I am excited for what they have planned because they seem passionate and dedicated about their game. Now though, to talk about the dark secret of World of Warcraft, gold sellers, botting and GDKPs. Gold selling and botting is a terrible problem that WoW is plagued with, and back when WoW had GMs they still had this problem, though it was far less of a problem. Yet right now, WoW, and not just Season of Discovery, but the game overall, is plagued by gold sellers and bots. And despite Blizzard banning hundreds of thousands of them every 3 to 6 months so that the bot developers can't figure out how they got detected, it is a somewhat saddening experience to see thousands of mages, hunters and other classes being botted and used to farm gold. But at the end of the day, the botters are just part of the problem. The people buying gold are the real problem, because the botters would not bot if people were not buying. They're only botting because it's a profitable venture for them. And I get it, people have lives, they work, they might not have the time to grind, and then you might even feel left behind if you're not buying because everyone else is. But it's a terrible cycle for the game and the player base to be in. I'm not here to tell Blizzard what to do, but there does need to be punishments and consequences for not just selling, but for buying as well, as I think that'll do more to stop botting than banning botters will. Stop the buying and the botting will stop. But overall, Phase 1 has not been a perfect experience, but it has been a classic experience. It's flawed, buggy, unique and fresh, and despite a few problems, Season of Discovery is the beginning a classic plus, and an experience that I'm genuinely excited to see through to the end. The feeling of not knowing what's coming exactly, what changes are awaiting us, and the excitement of the future of Classic has me giddy like a child, taking me back to my childhood when I first started playing WoW and TBC. I am incredibly excited for Phase 2 with my Meragon and its new PvP event zone, its new runes and more changes to the game than I can reasonably say. The devs have us excited and they're teasing us with a whole bunch of things. I'll be doing monthly updates about the state of Season of Discovery, so if you like this video, like and subscribe as it helps the channel out a lot. Thank you all for watching, Ebonheart out.